Good evening and welcome to the Italian Impact Podcast. I am your host, Steve Stefano Mancini, and I am back after a 2.5 week hiatus where I was blessed able to go over to Italy. I'm filming another documentary, and I got the opportunity to bounce around Abruzzo. I went to a bunch of little small towns, places like Lama and Taranto and Pesco Costanzo and other little towns. Opportunity to meet some wonderful people and conduct some fantastic interviews. I'm very excited about this next documentary. It's coming out, which reminds me, as a shameless self-plug, if you have not seen Fedelta, yes, the international award-winning documentary is available on Amazon. This year signifies the 80-year anniversary of the end of the war, and there will be about 30 family members coming to Chambersburg on September 11th. So I hope you can join us, and these are the folks that you will see in the documentary Fedelta. So hopefully, again, 11 September, you can join us in Chambersburg at the chapel, watch the documentary, and then look forward to meeting you in person. I want to mention one more thing before I jump on to my guest, because I have a very, very wonderful and special guest. I want to talk about cittadinanza, citizenship. As you know, I'm the honorary Italian consulate, and I get a lot of requests for a lot of things related to Italy and Italian-American issues and people wanting to become a citizen. I'm going to continue to ask this question. For the folks that are trying to become Italian citizens, what does citizenship mean to you? Why do you want your Italian citizenship? Now, the reason I say that is I've met a lot of people that don't really have a desire other than to get a passport. And I would tell you, citizenship means nothing if it's just about getting a passport. So I really want people to start thinking, why are you trying to spend thousands of dollars and a lot of time gathering a lot of documents just to say, I'm a citizen? Or is there some deeper meaning? I'm not discouraging you. I just want people to think about this, because I can't lie. I get a little frustrated when people come into my office to renew their Italian passports and they can't even, conduct a simple greeting in Italian. You got to ask yourself, if you go through the airport in Italy and you show your Italian passport and they start speaking to you Italian, what are you going to say? I'm American? I don't speak Italian, but you've got an Italian passport. You're claiming to be an Italian citizen. So I really want folks that are looking to get their Italian citizenship to start asking some tough questions and start deciding, if I'm going to get this citizenship, then I have to start connecting with the culture. Start by learning the language, and then start thinking about the fact that, hey, what if there's a war and the Italians say, we want all our citizens to come home? Are you prepared to go back to Italy? You're a citizen. If the Italians decide that they're going to start taxing Italians living overseas, are you going to pay it? Or are you going to say, no thanks, I'm going to keep my American citizenship? So you got to really start asking yourself, why do you want to be a citizen? And what does that mean to you? And what are you prepared to do if the country that you're asking to be a citizen of starts making demands of you? So I want you to think about that. My office is always open. I'm always there for questions. Feel free to stop by. Again, I'm down on 304 Ross Street in Pittsburgh. I'm usually there Mondays and Fridays in the morning because, remember, it is a volunteer position. I do not get paid. I do it because I'm a damn fool. But with that being said, let's jump ahead to a very wonderful guest I have. And I was actually referred to this gentleman, but I should have asked him much sooner, because he is absolutely a staple of Pittsburgh music, the jazz scene. He's been around a long time, very beloved, and I want to welcome him to the show. Again, Don, a little bit late, but Don Ackley, welcome to the show, Don.
Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate that you're having me.
Oh, like I said, I think I'm overdue to have you. I don't know how I missed you, because I'm always looking for, good Italian, what I'll call influences in the community, and you certainly fall into that. And I always like to start with my guests. I like to say, tell me where you're from, and don't tell me Lower Borough or Johnstown. I mean, where's your family from, and where do your roots go back to?
My mother and dad were both born in Sicily. My father was from Montalbano, Alicona, and my mother was from Villa Rosa. Now, Villa Rosa is not to be confused, because there are two Villa Rosas. One in Calabria. That one is two words. It is Villa Rosa. But the one in Sicily is one word. It's Villa Rosa. Villa Rosa. So that's my background, and my roots, of course, are Sicilian. So that's where I sometimes could get that on the internet. I could get the pictures of both places, Montalbano, Elicona, and Villa Rosa. So that's as I said, my background. Okay.
Now, did you ever have the opportunity to go back and visit?
I never did, and my mother and father never did go back. They left, and in the process, they were brave enough to come here to try to find a better life. My dad was 17 when he came here, 17, I believe, and he came here with a box of barber tools, and he proceeded to get set up by his brother. His brother preceded him in a little place outside of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and his brother knew a barber. The place was called South Fork. Okay, it's about 6 miles out of Johnstown. So my dad then was lucky enough to get a job with his brother's friend, and in that process, he met my wife. I mean, my mother, his wife. It happened to be that barber had a daughter, and the daughter was, I think, around 12 or 13, something like that, around that time. Well, unfortunately, what happened was the First World War. So my dad had to go back into the Army and went back to France, and he was he was a medic, because in those days barbers were looked upon as being next to a doctor.
That's crazy, but that's true.
It was crazy, yeah. So he became a medic, but when he returned, of course, by that time my mother was of age, and he began to court her, and that culminated in a marriage. And so there's my mother and dad's background right there. They lived in South Fork for a while, and then they moved to Pittsburgh. And my mother did not like living in Pittsburgh where they were living. So they came back, and they settled in Johnstown, PA. So he became part of a barber shop right near the municipal building of Johnstown, where he, in those days, there were, believe it or not, there were 4 barbers in the shop, and they catered to a lot of the politicians, because of the municipal building was right next or very close to the shop. So 4 barbers, and of course in those days, like I said before, the barbers were considered a little bit more than people would expect. They could get a facial there, they could get a singe, they could get a shave, they could get a haircut, and they could get a shoe shine all at one time, because there was a porter there also, and he would brush off the people as they get off the chair, and if they wanted a shoe shine, they would he would shine your shoes while he was getting his haircut or facial or whatever. And it was my job uh, after school. I would go down, and they closed at 6. So I would come home and eat my dinner, and then go back down there uh, and clean up the shop. I would sweep the floors and clean the mirrors and take care of the towels that were in the place where they kept the towels that they gave facials. And of all things, I hate to tell you, I had it. It's it's kind of ridiculous, but there was what we called spittoons then.
I remember
And
those.
oh my goodness, I had to clean those up. I had to throw them in the commode, and that was kind of distasteful. But
You
but
know, but it's better than what
I
they do
went.
now, which is just spit anywhere on the street. At least the spittoon
Oh,
gave you one spot to put it.
right. Well, anyway, that was my job, and I did that for several years.
So so where does the music start then?
I first gained recognition, believe it or not, as a vocalist, as a singer, and that the way that happened was that my sister was taking piano lessons, and my mother was a just an avid singer. She would sing all day long as she did her housework. So consequently, we would buy the sheet music at the 5 and 10 cent store, all the tunes in the hit parade, and so my sister would sit at the piano and would sing all these hit parade tunes. Now then, we would call the neighbors over, and sometimes they would all crowd around the piano. My sister would play, and we would have sing-alongs. So I was part of that, and it got me into that singing. So uh, about when I was 11, I think 11 or 12, my mother encouraged me to take up the clarinet. So I took the clarinet, and uh, I went to the Flynn Studios. Now, my dad said, "You're going to take your lessons with Mr. Flynn because he gets his haircut in my barber shop." So, but I discovered after a while uh, of shoddy practice habits, etc., that Flynn, Mr. Flynn, was more than a conscientious teacher. He was genius. The guy was a genius. He kept me going because uh, I wanted to quit many times because I was also an athlete. And I gained some recognition as a basketball player. In those days, you could play basketball at 5'6". Well, that's not so today. But anyway, I got some recognition from sports, and the sports was kind of interfering with the music. So he kept me going because he thought I had talent. So he kept me going to the point where when I could make my own intelligent decision to either do the thing right or quit, one or the other. So he kept me going. So I continued to play the clarinet. My mother, can you get this now? How about this? My mother, I lived very close to the school where I attended, and I would come home to eat my lunch because I was very close, and we had no lunch program in the school anyway. So after I would eat my lunch, she would pretend to be the announcer. Okay, in those days, of course, radio was big, and you had the cavalcade of bands, and you had all kinds of different big bands. You had Sam McKay and Guy Lombardo and all those kind of people on the radio. So she would pretend to be the announcer to get me to play and practice the clarinet after I ate my lunch. So she would say, "And now, ladies and gentlemen, featuring Don Aliquo and his clarinet playing I Dug a Ditch," which was really a tune. So what I would do, Steve, is I would practice all the songs. The exercises I didn't practice. And of course my teacher knew that. But anyway, that's what my mother would do. She would pretend to be the announcer and announce me to get me to practice, which I did. And I practiced all these tunes. And I learned a lot of tunes because of that. So while I was at the film studios, I met a person. His name was J. Howard Kelly. He was about 4 years older than me, but he was a really a very, very personable person, and he had big ideas, and his personality matched his big ideas. So he wanted to start a band. So we started a band, and we played. This is during the war, Steve, and there was no adults to play for all these fraternal organizations. So we wound up playing for the Elks, the Moose, the Legion, the Guitar Club, the Amslo, and Turner's Hall, and a host of other places. So we played for about maybe 3 or 4 years with that little band, and we had the help of a few what they called in those days the 4Fers, which meant they were classified as not being able to go
Right.
to because they had some kind of it was either age or a malady of a sort, or
Yep.
sickness or something. So they were classified as 4F. So they would help us learn how to do this, and it was like kind of pretty natural. We kind of put 2 and 2 together in our lessons. A little bit of our lessons helped, and the 4F people helped. So we got an opportunity to play for all these organizations, and during that war we also had a tour where we went to all the places around the city selling war bonds. Okay, we would play, and then we would have a show. There was an acrobat and a tenor vocalist and a comedian, some other stuff. But it was a little show that we put on because we wanted to sell war bonds, and that was our contribution. So, but
Now, Don, how old were you during all of this?
I was only 15.
Wow. So you're touring at 15, like you said,
14,
playing.
15.
Wow.
I was 14 or 15. That's right. My first job, I was 14, and could you believe this too? Now we played in a place called Hawes Pike Inn. Now, it didn't have a great reputation. So anyway, we went there. We had a clarinet, we had an alto sax, we had a trumpet, we had a street drum, we had a piano player, and we had my music. My music is my music is what they call in B flat. Okay, the alto sax is in E flat. We did not know enough to transpose, so we began playing, and of course it was awful. The trumpet player and the clarinet player were together because they're both in B flat. The E flat was like a fourth apart, and we sounded horrible. So they
So even though the notes were right, it was just the fact it was out of sync.
they put us in the car and took us home. And Steve, they gave us $3. This is 1943. Okay, uh, so so it gave us $3 a piece, and I thought I was in heaven. I said, "Well, this is marvelous. I'm going to make this my business," which it did. It did kind of being with Kelly kind of put me on course to what I was later to go with a band called Joe Ravita, and his band. Well, it was a step higher. I got the job because I sang. I played the tenor sax and sang, so I was able to go with him, and so uh, we played an awful lot after the war, and because of the war, we were associated with older people, and so some of the nightclubs thought we were older, because we were associated with older people, so we could get into nightclubs and we could do things that we shouldn't be doing, like taking a little drink here and there. but we were in the company of. Can you believe this now? If you are privy to a guy by the name of Joe Pass is a very famous guitar player. He was one of our compatriots. We were about the same age. From Joe Ravita, I went with a band by the name of Buddy Wills, and in that band there was a friend that had a brother who was in the war. Used to talk a lot about his brother. His brother did this, his brother did that. So finally, at the end of the war, I was playing at a place called the Roseland Ballroom in Johnstown, and here comes Benny Arellano's brother. That was his name, Arellano. It was a Mexican. So he stood in the back of the room, and we played, and that night he heard me improvise a little bit on 2 o'clock jump. 2 o'clock jump was one of the arrangements that we had, so he listened to that. And now he was a trumpet player and a guitar player. Of course, he didn't do that in the Army. He was in the 90th Division and had the Purple Heart and 2 Bronze Stars. He was 7 years older than me. Okay, but he took a liking to me. He took me home. He said, and he lived close by. That was lucky. He lived in a duplex apartment in the city, and I lived just about 3 blocks up the road from him. So I was right in proximity to where I lived. So he took me home, and he played a recording. In those days, it was 78s, Steve.
Right, I remember those.
Okay.
A long time ago, but yeah.
Yeah, one side and the other. That was it. 2 tunes on a record. So he said, "I want you to hear this." So he sat and put on Coleman Hawkins. Coleman Hawkins playing "Talk of the Town." Okay, so anyway, "Talk of the Town" is played. He said, "Okay, now change the head." Well, there was no automatic changers then. You had to get up and change it yourself. So I got up, changed it, put it back on again. So we heard it. It was over. He got up and changed it. We did that for 2 hours, playing one record. He said, I wanted you to learn how to organize a solo, and this was one of the ways I would teach you. Anyway, we became inseparable. Uh, anyway, now, a lot of things happened during my association with Manuel Ariano. They called him Tubby. He was a great trumpet player, and he would play guitar background, which I still have records of. Can you believe this?
Wow.
Okay. I was about 17 then, 17, 18 maybe.
Do you have some of those original recordings of you guys?
I do. I have the original recordings. I had somebody put them on a CD, about 15 years ago. So it's on a CD,
I'd love
and
to
I
hear
have
that.
several different tunes on there. And I'm playing. I'm about 17 or 18, something like that, and I still have those recordings. But so, like I said, we were absolutely inseparable. He taught me just about everything I know, and so finally, when I graduated from school, I went in my mother and dad's attic, and I made my decision. By that time, I had made my decision to continue music and quit sports. So I went up my mother's attic, and I practiced 6 hours a day for about a little over 2 years, about a year and a half, something like that. And I took an audition to enter the Walter Reed Army Band in Washington, D.C. So we passed the audition, and I spent 3 years in Washington, D.C., and there I studied with a guy by the name of Lee Hardesty, who was in those days they had a pit orchestra at the Capitol Theater in Washington, D.C. And I also took some lessons with Paul Gogol, the principal clarinetist in the Marine Band. So I learned an awful lot of music there because I practiced incessantly. I was part of the concert band in the morning and the jazz band in the afternoon. Now, it took me a while to get into the jazz band because there was no opening. I had to wait till somebody retired to get into that band. So the 3 years turned into maybe 2 because I had waited a long time to get in before somebody retired. But anyway, I came out of the service and came back to Johnstown, and $110 a month loomed over my head. I said, "My goodness, I could get $110 a month. So if I go to school." So I really didn't have any intentions of being a teacher, but when I got to Johnstown, and I played in some kind of territory bands and played everything from mazurkas to polkas to round and square dance, just about everything you could do. And finally, I said, well, I'm going to go to school. So I enrolled at IUP, which is, in those days, was called Indiana State Teachers College. So my clarinet playing was super because I had played it for 3 years in that concert band, and when I took the audition for the clarinet to get into IUP, the woodwind instructor said, "Oh, don't worry about it, you're in." So I spent 4 years there, and then.
So real quick, you had to audition to get into school, or to get into the program. Oh, I didn't know that. That's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah. You had to you had to play for the whatever your major was, you had to play for the instructor for that major. My major was clarinet, so I had to audition for. Well, his name was Dr. Stitt at the time, and you had to audition for your major, definitely.
Don, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back, folks. Stand by. We're gonna finish this with Don because we're gonna eventually get into his more modern stuff. Because Don, I think he's still out there playing. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Ciao, Chrissy. Your Italian got so much better. Brava.
Grazie. It's because I learned the best way possible.
How so?
Well, I learned that with apps, grammar books, and even YouTube videos, I could only get so far. I had to immerse myself. I noticed I did best when I was in Italy visiting family. That's where my level really soared.
And wow, did it work?
Thanks. I became much more confident, fast. That's why I created Footsteps Through Time. It's an Italian language experience. You don't just take Italian classes, you immerse yourself in a real Italian village. With lots of fun activities and excursions, it's life-changing.
I see. So, no more boring grammar, in-person labs, just real conversations, real culture, and delicious food, of course.
Exactly. I'm so excited about this. Learn Italian by actually becoming part of the local community for a week and living it. So if you've been dreaming of Italy and the language, check out Footsteps Through Time in Italy.com. Book now and join the experience.
Andiamo!
Thanks to Greater Pittsburgh Travel. For any of your travel needs, let Tom and the team at Greater Pittsburgh Travel know, and they'll take care of you. For more information, call 412-331-2244 or visit their website at www.greaterpittsburghtravel.com. Did your parents or grandparents ever talk about the Vietnam War? The Hardest Year, a love story and letters during the Vietnam War, is an accurate portrayal of what life was like during the 1960s, the time of the draft, equal rights, and the anti-war movement. Follow newlyweds through their letters as they navigate 1 year of the war an ocean apart. The Hardest Year by Carol and William Wagner is available now wherever books are sold. And we want to thank the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. If you're interested in learning more, you can find their contact information on Facebook at Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. Again, thanks Domenica and the team at the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh for your support. And we want to thank La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei, the only nonprofit school in Pittsburgh endorsed by the Italian Consulate. If you're interested in learning Italian or have your children being immersed in the Italian culture and language, be sure to give them a call at 412-404-7070. And that's La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei. We'd also like to thank Chris Gonzalez from the Knights of Columbus. If you have any questions about joining the Knights of Columbus, reach out to Chris Gonzalez at 412-605-9074. Hello, Bucko fans. This is Steve Stefano Mancini, international award-winning filmmaker and host of the award-winning Italian Impact podcast. Join us in celebrating the Italian community on August 23rd as the Pirates take on the Colorado Rockies. This special offer includes an exclusive Pirates co-branded Italian hat and loaded value, good to use on concessions and merchandise on the day of the game. Also, a portion of each ticket will be donated to a local Italian charity. So come experience a unique blend of sports, culture, and community during Italian Heritage Night at PNC Park. Grazie, ci vediamo. The San Rocco Foundation will be celebrating their 100th celebration. Our celebration will be August 8th, 9th, and 10th at St. Francis Cabrini Parish Campus, Mary Queen of Saints. Events start at 4 p.m. each day. On Sunday, August 10th, Mass will begin at 9 a.m. at St. Titus Church in Aliquo. There will be a procession immediately following. For more information, check out their website at www.sanroccofoundation.org. Again, that's www.sanroccofoundation.org. All right, Don, we're back. Appreciate you coming back, folks, and appreciate you sticking around, Don. Now, let's talk about it because now you graduate Indiana, the school. I think you said it was Indiana State Teachers College. Is that what you said?
Well, in between during the summer months, I went on the road with a band from New Jersey. It was called Hal Case, and we played up and down the eastern seaboard. Mostly like in Wildwood, New Jersey, and Seaside Heights, Asbury Park.
And Don, to put this in perspective for folks listening, so you really started touring in high school for a couple, or at least local, playing local for a couple years. Then you went in the military and you played there for a couple years. Then you came out. Then you went to college, studied, and then during the summer now you're touring up and down the East Coast. So you've been, by this time you're already a seasoned veteran on the in the music arena.
Definitely. I was a journeyman. You know, my son is an artist. I'm a journeyman. So I learned from experience and from teachers, from not teachers rather, from experience and other musicians that I would listen to. That's my background. Now my son's background is more of an academic background, plus the fact that he had my the help of my street learning too. So he has both qualities. That's why I call him an artist.
But there's a point though, because I noticed you mentioned the clarinet a lot. Now, when did you start, or I should say, do you still play the clarinet, or is there some point where you switched over to the saxophone?
No, I had switched over to sax. I neglected to say, in between, like all the things that I told you, I picked up the saxophone. So mostly played saxophone and in jazz settings. I did play clarinet briefly in school in the concert band.
Right, that's what you were studying, right?
Yeah, but all my jazz is on the saxophone.
Now, again, I look at your, you've played in a lot of places. Was this just different bands that it seemed to work out? How did you go? I don't want to say breaking out, but I mean, you've played in a lot of bands. You played in a lot of big, places that are, very prestigious for someone who's playing a saxophone, playing jazz saxophone. How did that kind of part of your career then really start to blossom?
Believe it, I played with so many itinerant name bands that came to the city. See, first of all, I had to get here, and now, in order to, like I said, when I came off, when I quit the summer gigs and went back to school and graduated, I started teaching. Then, okay, so I get the call to come after I get my degree. I get a call to come to Pittsburgh because there were some people here starting a band that needed an alto sax at the time, and Dave Brubeck was big, and they were the three of them. They were students at Pitt, but they were also great musicians. So I had all kinds of time on my hands. So I came to Pittsburgh, and I lived at the Belfield Dwellings. There, we would rehearse up. We were at the top floor. So they rented a piano, and we put it together up at the top floor, and we would rehearse up there. So the first gig that I had in Pittsburgh, could you believe this now, was the Crawford Grill. Now that Crawford Grill has a prestige is unbelievable. I mean, that people like John Coltrane, many Charlie Mingus, and so many great musicians played there. I had no idea that it had that heritage, but that was my first gig. But from there, we played throughout the city, okay? And, well, when they graduated from school and left. So during the time that I had by myself, because they were in school, I learned about a job at Harbrack. That was the teacher job I had. So I went up there, and I had to be interviewed, and I got the job, and that's how I started teaching school and playing. But I got it kind of mixed up a little bit. But my memory is not all that fantastic.
Better than mine, Don. It's better than mine. Let me ask you, you kind of said something, my memory, and you think about that. When you think back to those days, are there moments that really, what I'm going to call that stand out and ultimately maybe changed the direction of your life? Like maybe to your point, you played somewhere and you went, whoa, I just played here. Like I made it. Like were those moments during your career that you remember and think about?
Absolutely, absolutely. In 1960, I went to, it was called the Chateau, and it was on Route 88 in Pittsburgh. It burned down, but I went there with a student I was teaching by that time, and I went there with a student, and I heard John Coltrane, and it was absolutely incredible. The man was just absolutely incredible. I said to myself that night, I said, either you do this thing, or you're going to quit. One or the other. You got to go whole hog, or be happy with that being nothing. So I made up my mind to not only help kids in school, but in the process, I also help myself because charity begins at home. Okay, I found out that I loved teaching, and it was I used to tell the kids 90% is love, 10% is pay. I love you 90%. I get paid 10%. But my biggest tool was to show kids that I did what I wanted them to do. I didn't just put the horn in my case and become a teacher. I became a playing teacher. I became a performing teacher because during the time I spent teaching school, I played constantly. I played shows all over the place, club dates. I played, bar mitzvahs, weddings, you name it, and I played it. You can bet your boots on it. I played Bob Hope, Bob Newhart. At one sitting. Can you believe this? They were both at the same place at one time. I played, Tom Jones, Edward Humperdinck, Andy Williams, Mel Torme, but you name it.
And they're famous enough that I even know those names, so I know who these people are, and and I'm fairly young, so that's very impressive.
That was what I did. I taught school and performed also. I don't know how I did it all, to be honest with you. I played like the Civic Light Opera when you would have to rehearse. This was during the summer, and I didn't have school, so I would play the show that was currently appearing, and during the day I had to rehearse for the show coming up. So it was like very, very difficult, but I made it somehow, and just kept performing throughout the city, the whole time I taught school.
Don, let me ask you a question. When you think back to these, were there, I'm sure you've played with a lot of very talented individuals. Who was, or maybe one or two, the most talented individuals you were blessed enough to play with? Who would you say you played with? Well, this is a guy that was so good, he really changed me.
There is no question in my mind. It's John Wilson, Dr. John Wilson. He was the epitome of music. He knew music inside and out. He was born to be a musician. Now, that man plus another man, Danny Kahn. Danny Kahn was also a trumpet player. John Wilson was a trumpet player and an arranger, and I played in his band for about 20 years. And he was the epitome of music. Believe me, I mean, he was just incredible. But along the way, I've bumped into many great players. I'm trying to think of some of the big name guys that I played with, but I can't do that right.
Well, you've definitely named a few names before of that you've played for and around. Let me ask you: is there any one moment in your career that really stands out for you? You say, "I never forget that moment."
Well, I went to the St. Clair Country Club, and there on my stand was a folder that said Bob Hope. So I picked up that folder, and underneath it said Bob Newhart. Okay, so it turned out that Bob Hope and Bob Newhart both were there. The person that they were honoring loved both of those comedians. His name was Bob also, and he was being honored. And his two sons, could you believe this now? His two sons had enough money to hire them to come and honor their father because he was having a birthday party. And that probably stands out. Another time, this is a time that I can remember. I went in 1948. I marched in front of Truman, President Truman. Okay, we was in the band in the inauguration parade. The very next night, Steve, I was in a place called Number 2 Hawkins Lane. Now, that was if you know anything about the book Tobacco Road, that is pretty much what Number 2 Hawkins Lane was. Today, it is the Beltway. It's part of the Beltway. They took all of that out. It was in Chevy Chase, Maryland, right outside of Washington. So they're the two things that come to mind right now. But there are more. There are many more.
No,
I'll tell you one more.
Okay.
One more.
Please.
I was playing on the Steel Pier in Atlantic City with a band by the name of Johnny Long. Okay, and unbeknownst to us, we got there Sunday night. On the band stand was Claude Thornhill's band, but we were there. We were supposed to open up on Monday, so they were still playing. But can you? We were so mesmerized by. I mean, the band was great. Claude Thornhill's band was great. But during intermission, who comes out but Louis Armstrong? Okay.
Wow.
Louis Armstrong, Tyree Glenn, Billy Kyle, Danny Napoleon, and Ruth Brown was just a kid, just getting started, and plus, I think they had what's Barney Bogard, maybe not a clarinet, I forget now exactly, but when Louis came out, we were like stunned. We were just absolutely stunned. But the great Louis Armstrong, we said, my, oh, my. And we never knew he was going to be there. So, but we were, there were the three things that stand out in my mind, Steve.
Let me ask you, in 25 years from now, when you're gone, What do you want people to remember about you?
I was dedicated. I was dedicated to this art of jazz that anybody could ever be. I don't know anybody that would be so intense as to be dedicated as I am to this art form of jazz. Plus, I was a loving family man. On top of that, I loved my wife dearly. I loved my kids. So I was dedicated to music, dedicated to my family.
Don, you're definitely a wonderful person, and you are a pillar of music in this region. And that's why I'm just so honored to have had you on the show. I mean, I'm really appreciate the fact you took your time out of your schedule. And I know you still play, so I know you're not just sitting around watching TV. You're still out there, active, and that's the secret to life, in my opinion.
I am definitely out there.
That's the way to do it, Don. Don, let me ask you, kind of a final thought. If you're going to give advice to any young musician, what would you tell them?
Learn the melody.
Oh, interesting.
Really learn the melody, and that'll lead you. Desire is the big thing. I would tell them, you must have the desire. Desire will lead you to practice, and practice will lead you to where you want to be musically. You cannot do it without great desire, and you've got to be, dedicated enough to have that desire. But I would specifically say, learn the melody, because from all that, everything else will take form, will take its rightful position. You'll learn chords, and you'll learn how to navigate through the chords off the melody.
That's right.
Okay. So that would be my specific advice.
Absolutely. All right, Don. Listen, I want to thank you again for having you on the show, and I appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule. And I'm going to put a link down in the description, so folks, you can go down there and go find Don. He's still out there playing. God bless him. He's going to do it for another 20 years. That's what he told me. I'm just kidding. Maybe, Don. Hey, I'm actually rooting for you that you will. So, Don, again, thank you. God bless you, man, and thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Steve, you have been wonderful, and I do so much appreciate what you do, and putting up with my mixed explanation.
Oh, no. Your memory is actually probably a little better than mine. I'm going to tell you that right now. But, Don, thank you very much. You take care of yourself. God bless you. And we'll stay in touch. I'm going to try and come find you the next time you're playing somewhere.
Thank you very much, Steve.
All right. Thanks, Don.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks, I want to thank you again for tuning in. And what a wonderful guest, Don. Just fantastic. Just years of history. And it's like I always said, talk to these folks that have that 80, 90 years of experience. Grab those memories. They're just awesome stories. And if nothing else, they inspire you that later on, you have your own awesome stories because you listen to other people and you learn from them. So again, keep tuning in. Sharing is caring, folks. Please share the podcast if you like it. Tell people to come listen, tune in. I'm being downloaded in 25 countries. I think I'm doing something right, but, for me, I'm greedy. I want more listeners. Anyways, I'm just kidding. Hey, folks, thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.